just kind of into what we're doing, it's like, okay, we're reaching the right audience. This is a good feeling. That's what you want.
It's a good feeling. And you know what else is a good feeling?
What's that?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixlet. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. And today is part 2 of Dark Souls, the Masque of Vindication. Actually, it's just Masque of Vindication.
Masque of Vindication.
There's no article there. There's just
a common Masque of Vindication.
It's no. Oh boy. So when we last left off.
I don't think we've ever gotten to the bare bones of your attitude on a book quite so fast, Kevin.
When we last left off, they were in a town, and there's no names because names are only for important people. And we're picking up with chapter 14.
Yep. We sure are.
We sure are. So chapter 14. They're moving along the countryside. They're in a cart and they're going through warehouses of grain because this town sends all their grain to the king. So they gotta have the shipping concerns all laid out, you know? And we get into the details of
we gotta find out about every stop. We unloaded some stuff here, loaded more up there, and
we got more carts here.
Yeah, we found out about the circuitous trade routes
of the world of Dark Souls. I'm just going to take a sip of my LaCroix. And
they picked up some LaCroix.
They picked up some LaCroix. There was a three for $2 on sale at Publix, and they couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good deal. You can get little key lime. You get that limoncello you like so much, Kevin.
The limoncello. Oh man. I mean, obviously when you taste it, it just tastes like plain bubbly water, but the smell, it has the bouquet. Is that the right word? Is that
I think, that's
It has the bouquet of limoncello.
Limoncello. Come on now, people. Mix your actual limoncello in with it. And you got a cocktail, my friend.
You got a stew going, baby.
You got a stew.
So they're moving to the capital.
They're moving along.
They're moving along, and who cares? They get through the gates. They talk to people with names, and they get in front of the king. And the king's his brother, and is like, oh yeah, you're Balerion, all right. And Balerian's like, you're the king, and you're my brother, and yeah, Jesus. He's like, Jesus, what happened? What's going on?
My cat got her claw caught in my computer.
We're really off the rails. How is that Lieutenant Ellen Ripley? Is she okay?
Lieutenant Ellen Ripley.
Is she okay? Does she need to operate a load lifter now?
She's fine. Yeah. She could up. She's fully certified to operate a load lifter. She's good. Well, I don't know what can you do?
What can you do? Cat gets caught in the computer grate.
This is real life, people. We bring it to you real and hard and fast, just like Dark Souls. We live just the like Dark Souls. We're the Dark Souls of podcasts.
Dark Souls of podcasts.
Yeah.
So his brother, who is just like a dude who languidly sits on a golden throne and just loves gold everywhere. Just
gold member. Yeah.
He's literally gold.
I love gold. Like it's that guy.
It's that guy. Dude. He is sitting there and he's like, hey, I'll give you the key, the golden ticket. And you got to promise not to tell Slugworth about it.
Absolutely. That's the first rule.
That's
of all
the
of
first
these
rule.
Places. Yeah.
But you got to go to the glittering temple and you got to get me something. You got to get me a scepter out of that glittering temple. They're like, all right, we'll do it. We'll do it if it means getting the key from you. And they're like, okay.
They just really, they're just like eager can do with this one, by the way. They're
so can do. There is no.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Obviously.
You know, the hero's journey can get fucked for the most part. But
no, yeah, we're not gonna take our time here, try to learn or negotiate, or we're just like, yeah, fine, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. And then the king is like, well, hold on, I got to put your names down in this logbook. There's like an accounting. Right. There's like a little detail where there's an accounting for what they are being given. And it's like, it's for the historians.
Yeah,
and they're like,
he's giving them provisions. He's
giving them provisions and horses and food and all that stuff. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Minor detail. We'll come back around to that later.
Yeah, so, We're put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that.
We're coming back around.
So that's chapter 14. Chapter 15, they arrive at the temple, the glittering temple to the north, and they meet a guy, and he is one of the other knights of virtue. He is Garvin, the Undaunted. Is
the
Undaunted, right?
Yep.
Yes, the Undaunted, and he is. He uses a battle axe. So
he's an axe wielding fella.
He has a strength build. And I was like putting it together in my head. It was like, all right, so at this point in the party, we have a magic user.
Yeah, we got a tank.
We have a strength build in Garvin. Yeah. We have, and I'm gonna assume in Dark Souls terms, it's called a quality build.
Quality build. Okay.
A quality build is somebody who has equal strength and dexterity.
Okay.
So, and that's Crotha. And the other lady, Philodendron.
Yeah.
She is a dex build.
And she's a double wielder.
She is a double wielder. She dances with her swords.
Right.
Philocena. There.
Philocena. Yeah.
And Philly's just hit a home run. I'll edit that out, but
that worked.
They're World Seriesing right now, so
you got to be a part of it. I understand.
I got to be part of it. I'm keeping an eye on the score.
I appreciate it. I understand. So, I'd be doing the same thing if I gave a shit about sports.
Yeah. Well, if the Mountaineers were playing, the Mountaineers. If it was college ball, then I'd be all over. You'd be all up in it.
That's different.
That's different.
What about Balerion? We don't get a lot about Balerion's style.
Balerian's just he's your Gary Stu, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, weird that it's not our main character. Our narrator,
not our main character.
Yeah,
quote unquote, the most important character in the book. Not our main character.
Right.
Also, not that interesting. None of them are.
None of them are. I was complaining to you earlier that there's only a few of them in this book that are that have any development whatsoever, but developing them hasn't made them more interesting. So
no, it's just more. It's like when you prove bread. It's like it's bigger now.
Right. It's got more air in there, but
the dough is bigger, but it's still just dough.
It's still just dough. We are not finished here. Yeah.
So anyway, they meet this guy named Garvin, who was basically told by the old king to wait and watch this temple and go in when the time is right. And he has been doing this for hundreds of years now.
Yeah. We've got people who just live forever, whether they're dead or alive, or fuck it, it don't matter.
Because he has a duty to uphold, and so he's got to do it. Obviously,
duty makes you immortal,
and here's the thing. That's sure, that's fine. That's actually not too far off in the Dark Souls universe, passage of time and aging and all that stuff. It's all wibbly wobbly. And we'll get to that. That is one of the most Dark Souls things about this book is that we're not dealing with like, oh, somebody's 80 and they died. Like, no, this person is 400 and they're alive because they still have something they need to do.
That's kind of bleak. Like if we lived in that world, the corporations would seize on that. It's like, I can't die. Walmart
You'd be
still
shackled.
needs me.
We'd be shackled to our Twitter accounts, and we must tweet until the end of time.
Until the end of time, and it's just like a long line of people going, "Kill me, kill me."
The endless tweets.
AB96220033Q says, "Kill me."
And when you finally do die, it's tweetricide.
I think it's been really nice doing this podcast with for everybody. This book broke Kevin. It broke me. It wasn't FNAF like we thought it would be.
That's the end of our show. So they go in. Basically,
now, what is it now? It's a castle temple thing.
It's a temple built in a crater, and there's villages around it. And I got to be honest, I'm not sure I ever really grasped what the fuck they were looking at.
Like it was rings, right? Like it's concentric circles.
There's rings,
as it goes down.
And the rings move occasionally.
Right. But there's no rhyme or reason to when they move or how they move. They just occasionally move.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
We're on the same
So there's nothing
page.
more to it than that.
It goes down, the outer rings to the inner rings, they'll rotate occasionally, and there's a massive, gigantic temple in the middle.
In the middle of the bottom. Okay, yes. All right, I wanted to make sure I'd read that correctly. I was like, I missed something. That's the problem with some of these books. You read something that just isn't well developed, and you tell yourself,
like,
I missed something.
You read it a few times, and you're like, no, I'm still not.
No. Still not grasping
grokking what this is.
Right. Okay, good. As long as I'm not the only one. Good.
They basically begin to they have some story time. It
wouldn't be a Dark Souls book if you didn't have, pages upon pages of people telling each other stories.
Yeah, and Garvin gives them the lowdown. Exactly. Garvin gives them the lowdown of what, other armies and whatever have tried to attack the temple and get their way through, and none of them have ever made it. And those who have made it, he's like, there's always been horrific screaming when they get to the middle. He's like, so that bodes well for our heroes. They believe, they're like, we're going to go in and we're going to talk our way through. And we're going to try to talk our way through, and we're going to have Crotha take the lead on that project.
That's the standard issue Dark Souls way, right? Persuasion checks. All the way to the end.
The game famously known for having a persuasion stat.
Yeah, get your high charisma bard in gear and talk your way through Legions of the Damned. That's Dark Souls, baby.
That's Dark Souls, baby.
Yeah.
You got a Dark Souls stew going, baby. We're in chapter 16 now. It does not work at all.
No.
Having Crotha, your big knight dude, who stands for truth and justice in the American way, out front, just aggroes everybody, and they end up having to.
And I love Stackpole even points this out. It's like, I kind of wanted to go, you wrote this, because at one point he said it basically says it was pretty stupid of them to put Crotha out front, considering he's completely encased in armor and carrying a big sword. So everyone assumed, what a bunch of fucking idiots, right? It's like, you did this. You did that.
You wrote it.
It's like he's like nudging you in the audience going, right, bunch of fucking idiots over there, right? You're like, no, that was you.
You're the writer of this story.
You did the thing.
I just wrote it down.
I'm just reporting. I'm just reporting on what happened.
I'm a reporter.
Right.
I'm not involved in the story at all.
I'm the journalist for Dark Souls.
So they fight through a bunch of dudes called the Vangeon. I don't know if they got a name. I don't know if it matters ultimately later. I've never heard this name in relation to Dark Souls lore, I don't think. So I'm not sure it matters. So they kill all the Vangeon, who are basically these soldiers that are holding the rings. And then the people who live in the rings start coming out into like the public areas, and we're like, oh, we're free.
Right. You've saved us.
You saved us.
Dark Souls, the end. Like, what?
So they're like seeing that there's just this place is just lousy with gold. And they're like, why hasn't Solaric taken this place? Because he's obsessed with gold.
Right. I think he'd be all over this.
Philocena says Solaric is as blind as the people born here. He cannot see the true value of all this. For him, the blindness is willful. If he thought that his accumulated treasure was insignificant, he would see himself as insignificant. So basically, he can't admit that this place, which has more gold than he does, exists, because then it makes him seem weaker or more inferior. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, King Solaric is Donald Trump.
I mean, Jesus, like... Shots fired. Did I hear those shots being fired from the general direction of Pixelit? That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. We are brave. We are brave, dunking on the former president who's been out of office for several years now.
Who most everyone agrees is a fucking joke. Yeah. We are brave.
Brave men.
This is the beginning, by the way, of like, we've had a lot of philosophical talks throughout this book, which once again, standard issue. Yeah. In a game like this, get good at talking about your feelings.
Get good about philosophy. Right. You know, hey Socrates.
Right. Don't be a punk, Plato. But this is the beginning of what we're going to see, like some pretty extreme measures that people take according to their philosophy. This is a world where people physically cannot fudge with their inner monologue, so to speak. They find their philosophy, they stick to it, and they have to, because if they don't, something horrible is going to happen. Terrible shit. This is just the beginning of that. So I just felt that was important to point out.
It's important to point out. Yeah. So they continue into the temple. They continue in towards the temple, and they find the scepter is just kind of like suspended in a sunbeam or some shit like that. And,
it's true Legend of Zelda, like moment.
Balerion goes in, and they're all in awe of the scepter, and Balerian's like, I'm going to grab it. And Theranos makes note, like, he reached for it with his left hand, which was super smart.
Yeah, because if this turns out to be a trap and it cuts his hand off, he's still got a sword in hand.
He still has. I was like, thanks, Theranos.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, cool, fine. Cool, I didn't mind that detail. All right, Theranos.
So they take the scepter, and then whoops, it's a boss fight.
Yeah.
So now we're in
Don't
chapter
touch
17.
the statues. Yeah.
We're in chapter 17, and a giant golden statue comes to life with 4 arms. It's basically General Grievous.
It's totally General Grievous. It just doesn't cough as much. That's all.
It doesn't cough as much, and they are having a bad time trying to fight this thing. Because every time they hit it, chunks of gold melt off of it and fly off and hit the ground and then form into, I don't know what these animals are supposed to be. I just imagine them as gigantic porcupines.
Yeah, like little spiky things that jump out at them. And by the way, the Undaunted one just fucking runs.
He bails.
He bails immediately.
Garvin, the Undaunted.
It's hilarious. He just runs.
Yeah.
So, God damn it, like, I'm a battle axe guy. Every time there's a dude with the axe, I'm like, yes, that's my guy. And I was like, God damn it, you fucking asshole.
He is the worst, and he runs.
Because he'll look bad.
He makes all battle axe lovers like just look weak. Terrible.
Oh, so bad.
So yeah, he runs, and they fight it, and they are not very successful. And they're going back and forth. Then they decide, let's leave. Let's run. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. We gotta move. We gotta get the hell out of here. We're not gonna win this fight.
At some point, the statue, which they determine which is a god, by the way, they realize is the god Arduin, which is some god of gold, the godling they keep calling it.
Minor god.
Takes the shape of a serpent and blocks them from the entrance. And Garvin, to make up for the fact that he fucking bailed earlier from the fight, does a plunging attack from like the roof or something like that.
Right. Yeah. He just comes straight down on him.
And comes straight down onto the snake's skull. The snake slams him up onto the roof and then drops him. And then basically Arduin loses his form and just turns into a puddle of gold. And Garvin's like, nope, that's it. I'm worm food. And they're like,
kind of miserable last words too.
He's like, I'm a coward.
Yeah.
That's why I never went in. And they're like, no, you just saved us though, so we'll make sure you get a good rap. And he's like, no.
Yeah, I know. He's like Debbie Downer on her deathbed. Like it's just they're like no, Beleriand like gives him this really lovely like, but you proved your worth and your valor in saving us, and I will tell my
shall
father.
Know. And
the history books will know. And he's just like, no, but I'm gonna know I'm a pussy. And he died. And that's what the fuck, Mark Maron? Like, where the hell did that come from?
Garvin is played by Mark Maron.
Oh my God. It can't be undone. Like, that's just like, you wanted to go, okay, fine, die. Jesus.
So I hope you didn't fall in love with Garvin because he's fucking dead.
No, he's gone. That's a wrap on Garvin. He made 2 whole chapters.
He made 2 whole chapters. Really didn't do a whole lot.
They are not long chapters either.
He didn't even like tell them that much information. No. He just kind of like did his thing and died.
Right. Like it was kind of like they wanted someone to die, but but the author has plans for everyone already.
For everyone else. So, this other dude gets introduced. Garvin.
Right.
And,
it's like the sitcoms in the 80s when you wanted to have a very special moment when like an old relative dies. A very special
episode.
Yeah. And they introduce them at the top of the episode. And by the end of it, they're dead. And we're supposed to like weep because God, they were just the best.
That was Johnny, and he died of AIDS.
Oh, we love Johnny. He was
he did the thing.
He did the,
and it's like that very special episode where they're like trying to tackle something like the AIDS epidemic or the drug crisis or whatever, but they're not going to like actually talk about the marginalized communities being affected by it.
No,
it's like that's Johnny. He
got it from a blood transfusion.
He got it from a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
Very special episodes.
We have a very special episodes of Dark Souls.
It's very special.
Masque of Vindication.
And next time on Dark Souls Masque of Vindication, Garvin deals with his drinking problem.
I'm not a coward. I'm just drunk. Wait, no. Both.
Sometimes you want to go wherever.
I think the Frasier style spinoff of Garvin was kind of a bummer. I didn't buy him as an attorney in Seattle.
Yeah, I didn't. No. I did not buy those tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
What is a boy to do?
Sometimes I seem a bit confused, baby. I got you,
rather if we just did like a Frasier podcast instead? We could skip this.
We could pivot to Frasier.
Pivot to Frasier. Would that be better? It'd almost be better at this point.
Let's look up. Do we start with Cheers and then go to Frasier?
Oh, wow.
That's the eternal question.
Then are we obligated to do any other spinoffs that came from that? Were there any other Cheers spinoffs? There had to have been, right?
I don't know. That's a good question. It was Cheers and Frasier, and I think that's it. There might have been a backdoor pilot or two that never got picked up. But Anyway,
I think everyone in this room's been in a backdoor pilot or two, if you know what I'm
you know-
saying.
you know what I mean.
I'm talking about butt stuff.
So they leave
Yeah,
with the
they
scepter.
leave.
And they get to one of the big old warehouses in one of the rings that has a lot of gold in it. And be like, oh, damn it, the god isn't actually dead.
Right. Yeah. Weird, right?
Weird.
Like, huh.
Oh, okay. So
The metaphor didn't die.
The metaphor didn't die, and Garvin did nothing.
Nothing.
So they,
yeah, Garvin's death was totally in vain, like totally pointless.
So Theranos is like, oh, just kill me, Crotha. And he's like, what? And Theranos is like, give me the scepter and kill me. So they do. And he wakes up at a bonfire outside of the temple area, outside of the whole crater and rings and everything. And like the rest of the party comes trudging up and they're a little worse for wear, but they're fine.
Right.
And he's like, was I right? And they're like, yeah, as soon as we got the scepter out of there, the piles of gold stopped attacking us. And he's like, yes.
He respawned with the flag a mile away. Yeah.
Yes, he respawned with the flag. They just did a little, they really hacked to capture the flag.
Good strategy.
There.
I mean,
it's a good strategy, you know?
Fuck
it. And that's basically the beginning of chapter 18.
Yes.
And a good chunk of chapter 18 is basically trying to convince Crotha to lie, and he doesn't like that.
This is more of what we were talking about with like, because they've got to go back and tell the king that because they what did they do to the scepter? They like break it.
He took the diamond out.
Yes,
the diamond was the thing that was doing the thing, and he shattered it and then re-put it back together. He took the magic out of it.
Like the majority of the magic.
The majority of the magic. It still has a little bit of magic that is able to control gold, but not to the effect.
In a small way.
In a small way. It doesn't summon a gold god.
Right. And that's the thing. They figure like this will be enough to make the king happy, but not so much that he'll
die because
he'll
get killed by the gold god.
The gold god. And and so they're trying to most of this chapter is them trying to tell Crotha, the Knight of Truth, like, you gotta lie a little bit for us to make this work. And he is straight up white atheist libertarian, like, no, rationality and logic is the only way, even though it'll get us all killed if I don't tell one little fib here.
Basically, facts don't care about your feelings.
Right.
Thanks, Ben.
We appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
So they get back to the king, and they're like, here's this cool scepter, and look what it can do. And Theranos like makes it turn a pile of gold into like a guard that's made of gold. And the king is like, well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, he's like really disappointed. It's like, dude, if I was Theranos, I'd be like, hey, that was fucking impressive I didn't even know I could do that. I'm a mage, and I was just kind of assuming I could do it. Like, that's impressive, you ass.
And then the king's like, by the way, you've been gone for 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And they're like, what? And and this is actually, that's like the most Dark Soul, one of the more Dark Souls elements is that the passage of time gets weird. And like they were gone for like a week, but to him, they were gone for 5 years.
Yeah, like he looks different now. Like
he's older, his paunch is bigger.
Fatter, like I thought that was pretty cool. Like that was pretty interesting.
So he's like, all right, well, that settles that. Now the matter of the bill you owe me. And they're like, what? And he's like, well, according to our accounts, we gave you food for 5 years because obviously it was enough to last you. And they're like, it wasn't 5 years. It was a week.
No, okay, but real quick to illustrate what they do here to take care of the debts. Kevin, let's say you lent me 5 years worth of double quarter pounder with cheese.
Sure.
So ask me to pay you back. Let's do a little thought experiment here.
Okay. Well, can you pay me back for the 5 years of double quarter pounders?
5 years worth of. I have a better idea, Kevin.
Sure.
What if I told you a really cute story?
I would say no, thanks. I would like my 5 years of double quarter pounders with cheese.
What if it was like a really, really cute story?
Okay.
Because are you guys listening? Because that's what fucking happens.
The king is like, do you have a 5 years worth of story to tell me? And they're like, oh boy, howdy do we? And then they just say,
it feels like 5 years. I'll tell you that much.
So, and then they just tell him what happens.
Yeah.
But they just change a few of the details.
Yeah.
They changed the gold into mercury.
Yeah.
So that it was a little bit more frightening. And
Right,
that's about it.
yeah.
They just recap.
That's about
like,
it.
We were also there. We the readers were also there. And part of this book is recounting a thing that we read, but with lies mixed in.
Right.
To another character. Just for the sake of settling 5 years worth of food debt, even
5 years.
Because they just happened to be gone for 5 years in his time frame.
Yeah. It's a very this is where we get into some very like English folktale style shit where it's like a very stone soup kind of thing where the bad guy's like, I gave you 5 years worth of food. And they're like, no, you didn't. You gave us a week's worth of food. He goes, yes, but it lasted you 5 years. So quid pro quo, it should have counted as 5 years.
Now get in the back and start spinning with your hair.
Right.
And taking care of the goose that lays golden eggs.
Right. It just gets into some weird, like, weird Rumpelstiltskin shit and
very Rumpelstiltskin shit. Like,
and the worst part about it is it fucking works. Like at the very end, the king's like, I mean, that is a pretty good story. I'll tell you what, tomorrow everyone get some sleep, and tomorrow give me one more story and we'll call it square. And you're like, okay, really? Like,
call it square. I really, I had some emotional sustenance from that story, and
this is what happens when you live in a world without TV. Like,
live in a world without TV, and you're alive for like 1,000 years for no reason.
Yeah, that was a goddamn good story. I mean, just look, when you think about it, this is a $25 book, ladies and gentlemen. When you think about it, just a piece of this book in the smack dab middle of it is worth 5 years worth of food. So it's a pretty good fucking deal.
It's a good deal.
If I do say so myself.
You just rip out these pages. Yeah. Take them on over to Aldi. I believe Aldi is accepting Dark Souls Masque of Vindication pages.
Why wouldn't they? They're so reasonable.
As coupons. And there you go.
You're set for 5 years, my friend.
So they continue.
And but Crotha, we got Crotha's.
We got Crotha's story. And Crotha is like, because he could see Crotha is like just flop sweating. He's just like,
Crotha is the meme of the kid in school with like the vein popping out his
Crotha's that face right now, and he's like, Crotha, you're being quiet.
You got anything to say, Crotha?
And Crotha's like, yeah, I fucking sucked ass during that trip. It was terrible. And they're like,
I can't tell you my part in it because I sucked. I rolled like 3 ones in a row. It's embarrassing.
It was dumb. I was bad. And that's the truth.
That's that. I'm not. Well, yeah, he just starts puking just everywhere.
Vomiting.
Yeah, just uncontrollable heaving.
Well, it's like the character from Knives Out.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's who he is. That's who Crotha is.
It's Anna de Armas's character from Knives Out.
Puking uncontrollably.
She starts vomiting if she lies.
Oh, there it is. There it is. So some people's philosophies are a little more flexible than others, as we will come to find out.
As we come to find. Yeah, so they continue. They continue on. Mm-hmm. There's trees. They walk through some trees, and there's cows, and they see the cows.
You see the cows.
They get to a town called Fairhaven. Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention, they get the fucking key.
He gives him the key.
He gives him
some
the key.
Weird little hold my hand thing.
Yeah, it's a hold my hand thing, and he gives him his like Livestrong bracelet.
Right, yeah, it transfers over. Your friends who do that. Your girlfriends, they like hold hands and move the one friendship bracelet from one wrist to the other. Yeah. It was like a magical version of that.
I mean, Phil and I have done that.
We've done that several times.
That
was just basically what the wedding weekend was all about.
That's what
exchanging more than one piece of jewelry is all I'm saying.
He's talking about butt stuff.
Never forget.
Never forget. So now they have moved on from the land of gold and into the land of beauty.
Jesus Christ.
So they're in the second of three kingdoms now. Mm-hmm. And the queen of this is Jarnessa or something. Janess. Anyway, she's the queen, and she prioritizes beauty among all other things. So they get to the town of Fairhaven, and they're like, "Oh man, Phylacina and Balerion, you're hot to trot. You're good to go.
Hot.
You're super hot. We love what you guys are doing. You two undead people, we got to work on you." So they take them.
We got no room for uggos here, people.
We got no room for uggos. So if you're gonna hang out, well, we're going to need you to do some stuff. They take him to a bathhouse, scrub him up and down.
I fucking love this scene.
They give him a mani-pedi. They do their hair. They do their makeup. They make them look live again. And they're like, their social ugliness ranking was upgraded to like fair.
They literally go up a level in social. Like, it's like World of Warcraft, where you're trying to increase your reputation with the society by killing all the Murlocs hanging out outside of their village. Except you need a bath. Like, I love the way they've got this fucking woman. They got this woman like Helga. Her name must be Bertha or Helga or something. And she's like this 6 foot tall bitch with huge arms. And she literally, all these kids and people surround the undead, and she's just crossed armed in front of them, and she goes, "You know what to do." And all of these people just descend on the undead, strip them naked, start scrubbing their bodies in the water. It's so insane.
It's like they get cleaned, they get mani-pedis, they get a haircut, everything.
Little
top
rouge,
to bottom.
a little lip.
Little rouge, a little lip. It's beautiful.
Oh my
it's actually
God.
I would love this scene more in literally any other book.
Yes. You've described so many moments in this book. Like, this is like fantasy RuPaul's Drag Race, and I'm here for it, but in something else, please.
It just strikes so weirdly in a dark. This
would have been great in Shadowkeep.
This would be great in a fucking Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy has done this.
Final Fantasy is all over this. Absolutely. Stackpole, get your ass over there and make some Final Fantasy novels, because you got it, my friend. You got the tone. You got the branding. But Dark Souls.
God. Okay.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
Jarnessa is her name, by the way.
Jarnessa. Thank you. So there's like the process is called being reclaimed.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, they were placed at the rank of fair, and there's other ranks are solar, bright, and raised. And fair placed them in the middle.
Yeah, it's like average. So, raised is when you look like shit and you're not allowed to hang out.
Yeah, we're not allowed to hang out. She doesn't even go here.
Right, yeah. Bright is hot. Bright is like pretty hot.
Bright is pretty hot. Solar is there's only one person who's solar, and that's the queen hot shit herself.
Gwendolyn Christie. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it was Gwendolyn Christie, I would understand. Yeah. If it was Gwendolyn Christie.
I mean, yeah. But
you saw her. You saw her. You saw her in Sandman, right?
Yes. I may have. Yeah.
Phil adores a tall woman.
I might have a type. Yes, I may have noticed her. Yes.
Anyway, they're at they're basically where the fuck are they now? We're in chapter 20.
Yeah, we're in chapter 20. Yep.
And they are meeting with the queen.
Yeah.
And
and Felicina is so fucking hot right now, by the way.
Oh,
like, we need to know this.
We need to know this. We're like every inch of her is like up to bottom and just like the hotness.
And she's suddenly like carrying herself. Like it's that social study that they did with homeless people where they like took half of them and put them in suits and they started acting like more professional or formal or something like that because clothes make the man, so to speak. And they put her in a bunch of lace and shit.
So I forgot to mention this is just a dinner at Fairhaven. They're not there for the queen yet. So while this dinner is happening, Theranos is basically just wandering around the town. He's wandering outside of town. He's not very comfortable doing this, and he meets a cart of like exiled people, and the exiled are the people who are not even that. It's just like they might have one little thing wrong,
but that you can't fix.
It's just like this person has a broken leg that healed wrong. This person has a scar across their face.
There's like a little kid with like a cloudy eye, and
so they're they meet. He meets this group and he's trying to figure out like what's going on with them. And the cart, they're all down on the ground and praising and all that stuff, and because he is not one of them, so obviously they need to show deference to him,
right?
So all these people are beneath the raised. The raised is the lowest level, and these are the exiles. They're beneath it. So he meets a woman who reveals herself when she takes off her hood or whatever. And God damn it, she is the hottest fucking person to ever live.
Crazy hot.
Just crazy hot. She has a scar down her face. It's like something like it goes down her face and down her neck or something. And he's like, that just makes her hotter. That's literally what it says. Is like, oh, that scar makes her hot.
Just shows she'll fuck you up, and that's extra hot. So yeah.
So she is actually one of the knights. She is the knight of one of the knights. She's the Knight of Beauty. Her name is Cerezia. I assume that's how it was pronounced. Her name is Cerezia. She is the Knight of Beauty, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna join up with your little party, and we're gonna figure this stuff out.
We get another party member because and that's another thing that holds true to the Dark Souls franchise. Assembling a large group of people you will join in your adventures. It's not a lonely game where only occasionally you see other people, like 7, 8, 9. Dark Souls is basically like WoW raids.
It's game. WoW raids.
Yeah, I mean
that is
20,
my
30,
best memories are fighting the dragon, one of the dragons with a party of like 20 people.
Yeah, small army behind you. That's Dark Souls, baby. It's great.
There's a lot of weird, dumb philosophical stuff and some.
Yeah, we get more talk.
We get more talking. So here's something I want to point out. Ceresia is clearly in these scenes. She clearly sees beauty beyond physical appearance.
Yes,
she says
they make a big point of saying.
They make a big fucking point. Yeah. That she sees beauty beyond physical appearance. She sees beauty in things that aren't necessarily like considered beautiful by other people. She sees beauty in concepts.
Yeah.
All
Thus
that
her leading these exiles.
Exiles. She sees them as beautiful. They are beautiful beneath the wounds that they carry.
Exactly. Yes.
So I'm just putting that.
That's just a detail that Kevin felt the need to point out. It's just a minor thing. Don't worry about it. That's not going to come back.
That's not going to come back. No.
For any reason. No.
So they travel from Fairhaven to the kingdom, Athemia, and they get inside and they meet with Jaranessa Solar. So she is the only one that gets that cool solar. It's a cool name. And Balerion is here. He calls himself Balerion, and she goes, I know who this guy is. He claims to be my brother. Yeah. But truly he shall be my death. That's right. So we get a little audience with Jaranessa.
Yeah.
They talk. They have a moment where she decides that simplicity is more beautiful than complexity. And
fine.
But the hilarious thing is everybody starts immediately changing their clothes.
Right.
When she says this, because everything she says is a decree. So everybody who was layered in these heavy laces and silks and stuff like that, when she's like, sometimes simplicity is better. And everybody's like, oh shit. And they start taking off the extra laces and silks. And
this was another moment that I thought was actually pretty neat and pretty cool and had no idea what it was doing here.
So the thing that we know about Jaranessa is that she is tall, and she wears a mask. And one of the reasons she wears a mask is that she is so beautiful under that mask that if you were then deprived of her beauty, you would kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So she's doing it as a favor to everybody.
Right. Like, yeah, I get it. 1994 Jennifer Connelly. I got you.
I got you. I'm right up. Same page.
Yeah, man.
They have another dinner. This time Theranos is not leaving to go meet a hottie out in the woods. By the way, Theranos is in love with Ceresia. Oh, he cannot stop talking about how hot she is.
Yeah.
And she kind of likes him. She kind of flirts. She flirts back.
Yeah. I mean, he must be a pretty good looking guy for a corpse.
for an animated dead man.
It's charming. He's got a good personality.
It's like Weekend at Bernie's without what's his name? Jonathan.
He's Weekend at Chad's. That's
Weekend
what
at Chad's. Yeah.
Chad
Weekend at Fairies. So they're having dinner, and they're having dinner, and there's
some
so much
awkwardness between Ceresia and Philocena.
It's because Philocena was like, she was the hot one, and now Ceresia's here.
Ceresia's here, so now she's like, she's a little hotter than me.
There are just pages and pages of them talking, and it's not that interesting.
No.
The most interesting that ultimately happens, and this is like 5 pages later, is Jaranessa finally makes her ask. So for order them to get the key of beauty, they have to go down to this other town it's the city where all the exiles live. And she's like, don't worry. That's a service we provide them. They're allowed, they're allowed to live down there. That's fine.
They got their own town and everything.
It's fine. But we do want you to go down there and kidnap a kid.
Right. Yeah.
we would like you. There's a kid
cool.
If that's cool. We heard that there's a baby born down there, super hot. We want you to go
super hot
down.
baby.
Hot baby.
Make sure you look out for that.
We need you to go and grab that kid. Bring her back.
To get weird.
Things are getting weird.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a funny moment in chapter 24 where they're trying to get ready for this journey, and the people helping them get their stuff together are trying to do it in a way that's most aesthetically pleasing. So they're like trying to give them the prettiest cows or oxen or whatever, instead of like the ones that would be the best at pulling carts.
Right.
And
Which, again, that's a
nice
very interesting moment. It does not scream Dark Souls.
But these moments all strung together, by the way. To me, the book feels like it's going more and more off the rails.
Big time. Big time.
It's just like these moments of like, what is happening?
There are so many moments in this book where, as a writer, I recognize some of these moments where they feel like these stream of consciousness things, where you do get in kind of this blur of writing where you're like, oh, I've got it. You hit it's like, it's the writing equivalent of when you're wrapping presents and the scissors glide.
Yeah.
It's the
you hear
writing,
that little,
It's the writing equivalent of that, and you're just moving. And when you're doing that, you can come up with some of your best ideas. You can also go off on tangents that you will come back to reading later and go, "What the fuck was I on about?" Like it's totally sober, right? Drunk edit sober shit, where you come back to edit and go, "What was this? Why does it matter?" That okay, fine, and it just it kind of goes on.
Yeah, so they get on the road. They meet up with some exiles. They're like, "Yeah, let's all work together." They continue down the road. They fight some bandits. They meet some more exiles. Yada yada yada. They get down to the town, and the town the city's name is Vitaria, and it's actually really cool moments where it's like the council of Vitaria is like welcoming people into the town, and there's a pool that they wash themselves in when they enter with there's like a rainbow that casts down upon the people, and it's like this is the healing pool, and it's like when they come out of the pool they're not physically healed, and they're like, well, what do you mean they're not physically healed? And it's like and basically the town council elders like, it's a metaphor, you fucking idiot.
Right. Yeah. You gotten this far in the book and you haven't figured out these are all metaphors.
So it's it's the people are learning to accept themselves with their injuries and their disabilities and things like that. And I was like, oh wow, this Vitaria place is pretty based. It's
kind of cool. Yeah. Like
kind of cool.
It's
these people should probably be in charge.
Right. Yeah. It's this life coaching thing where it's like, it's a thought. It's like, we're just, now when I went into the pool, I didn't like myself. And now I feel good about me. I don't care. And
so they get to, the other thing about Vitaria is like, this city itself is perfect. It's like it's a nice city. It's clean. It's got shops. It's got all that stuff. And they're like, oh, we thought we were taking a baby from like a hellhole.
Right. Yeah. This whole suddenly, I don't know if I feel crazy or not, but suddenly kidnapping a child from this area feels a little weird. Suddenly,
but they're like, well, what do we do? And they talk to the elder of the town council, and the town is like, all right, well, that's what the queen wants. So she claps and like, bring me all the kids that are 0 to 5 years old. Like, line them up.
Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, you want a baby? I'll give you a fucking baby.
We got kids.
Oh boy.
So
howdy, we got kids.
Boy howdy, we got kids. So basically, they get to the lineup of kids that they got to choose, and Ceresia starts looking at these kids. And she has the face of that kid from the meme. And she gets overwhelmed by the beauty of the kids because it's really fucking stupid. All right.
It's so fucking stupid.
So remember earlier when I said they make it really clear that Ceresia is able to see through straight up physical beauty and sees the beauty in things and stuff like that.
And they're very clear cut on that.
Very clear cut.
Yeah, there's no like ambiguity there. It's very clear that she can see through that shit.
She then, her mind breaks because as the elder describes, Ceresia was like very vain and only saw physical beauty and didn't understand that beauty can be more than just like, was there a mistake?
We covered that. Yeah.
We covered this. Was like part of this section from one draft and part from another? What the fuck? You made this character very clearly able to see the beauty in things. The American Beauty style, the bag twirling in the winds. She found beauty in that. And now you have this character basically has a seizure at seeing some cute kids.
She has a fucking aneurysm. And they say, what has Whaddya done to her? Broken her reality. The speaker looked me in the eye. The night of beauty. Think on it. By what yardstick did she measure beauty? I wiped spittle from the corner of Ceresia's mouth. Her own beauty. Just so. Her vanity defined the world. Here she learned there is beauty beyond her comprehension. The truth has broken her mind. It's like, we covered that, though.
What?
We're past that. Like...
And she was also somebody who she knew she was beautiful, but she also didn't care because at one point she cuts her own face to show her loyalty to the king.
That's where her scar came from.
This is not somebody who is vain. She sliced a scar down her face because she would.
It sets up the rules and immediately breaks them.
I was so angry by the time when I read that. I was like, what? I texted Phil. I'm like, what the fuck did they just do to this character?
It doesn't make any sense because I liked her. She was kind of interesting.
The only interesting character so far.
She really was, and she did this. They did the same thing they did with fucking Garvin over there, where it's just like we're introducing this character,
and now we're gonna kill her off. We're gonna send her into a coma.
Just, dude, it didn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work based on the rules we've set up.
Yeah, so that's
now, don't get me wrong. The idea of someone now that's a cool idea. Like if you're a person,
like we've said, there's
but that person
ideas.
would be vain, and it would have to be a different character entirely for that to happen.
It would make sense if it was like the queen. That's how the queen died, or something.
Yes, if that was the queen, absolutely, it would make perfect sense. Now maybe that's a twist. Maybe that's a twist. We haven't gotten any further than that. But
yeah. But that's the end of the chapter. They pick a kid to steal, and they're leaving with it.
Yeah, Valerian's like, I guess I'm picking the.
I guess as the next hottest person here, this kid. That's where we're at with Dark Souls: Masque of Vindication. Phil is silently chuckling to himself, and he's leaned back in his.
Dark.
This is.
Dark Souls, Toddlers and Tiaras edition. Like, what the fuck?
It is so ridiculous. When we got to that, here's the thing, is the stuff with the temple and the rings and the 5 years, I was like, yes, we are kind of on the right track.
Yeah.
And then we get Ceresia, who is like, okay, we're veering off into a weird zone with this land of beauty, but at least we're getting an interesting character out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't have the character because she now is permanently living in the city of Whaddya as someone in a comatose state.
Yeah, they're gonna theoretically take care of her, but.
Yeah, so fucking hell, the shit?
I'm aware that I don't know a ton about Dark Souls.
No. You know enough. to know that this isn't it.
That's just it. I can't help but shake the feeling this is all wrong for this universe. Therefore, a person like you, who is a huge Souls fan, like you of most of my friends, you are probably the biggest From Software / Souls fan. Like, that is your jam.
Yep.
And so I can't even imagine how frustrating this is for you. Like,
it is mind-boggling that this is the first Dark Souls novel that we get. And it's just, I don't understand this nonsense. And I sent Phil earlier today, before we recorded, I sent Phil the opening cinematic of Dark Souls 2, which is something I talked about last week, where we have basically, it's about how the curse, which that's the thing, we haven't even brought up the fact that that being undead is a curse.
It's still just a detail.
It's like still just a little detail.
Character creation. Yeah, my charisma went down, but I get extra constitution and immunity to poison attacks. Like, that's how they're treating undead.
It's the D&D version of playing an undead character versus like in the Dark Souls universe, being undead is the worst thing that could befall a person, because
and it's a minor inconvenience.
It is a minor inconvenience to
actually. No, it's not even that. It's got all kinds of benefits. Like, there are so few downsides to this. Like, some people like one village. We've been to one village where they were like, maybe hang in the back. We don't know how they're going to act. Everywhere else, they've been fine. Like, no one seems to give a shit. Children cleaned the one, and like they weren't afraid of them.
No.
Like, they made a point of saying it was kids that were getting Crotha all scrubbed and ready to roll.
Like, maybe I'll take back that idea if it gets fixed in the last third of the book, but I don't foresee anything happening in the last third of the book that changes the perspective I have on, like, you can't undo the first 2/3 of this book, which are absolutely ridiculous when you pair them with the idea of a Dark Souls universe. And I'm not saying, actually, this isn't against lore. Like, I don't care as much about lore as I do about themes. And this is not even remotely in the ballpark of thematically linked to Dark Souls. Like, the lore is fine. Like, fine lore. You can build new lore. You can add lore.
Yeah.
The world in Dark Souls is really fucking old. This could be set in one of those epochs that you don't know about. Fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But at least give me something thematic that ties it in to that universe.
It's like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Like, that had fuck all to do with basically any story at that point that had happened in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
It didn't connect with anything except maybe in the most distant ways. But it was distinctly Star Wars. It was clearly that universe. It was clearly that world. It had the tone right. It had the themes right. And it ended up creating all kinds of new legends and shit like that. It was great.
Sure.
And that's what we're dealing with here. It's not that it isn't even connected to, like you said, the lore. It doesn't feel like it's in the same world.
No. And this is a conspiracy theory I mentioned to Phil, and I think I said it last week. Yeah, is that this kind of feels like a generic fantasy story that had Dark Souls stapled onto it afterwards.
Yeah, after
the fact, some little details were changed. And I'm not hefting any accusations at Michael Stackpole. Far from it. I'm just saying that's what it feels like. If you're reading this book, you're like, this does not feel right.
And if there's one thing sorry, go ahead.
We don't know the circumstances of this book's creation.
That was exactly what I was.
It's not a super marketed book. The fact that I don't see people tweeting or talking about Dark Souls Masque of Vindication. It came out last week. This is a huge world. It came out last week. We as of this episode, it's been a week. And
the lore junkies for Dark Souls and stuff, that shit is real. This should be
This should
People
be
should
huge.
have torn this apart by now, and it's barely been touched. Like,
It's barely been touched. And the fact that you can't even search on Amazon. You can't, if you search Dark Souls Masque of Vindication, it actually doesn't even come up right away.
no, yeah.
You have to go
If you
digging
Google
for
it, it doesn't come up. It a bunch of screenshots. I was looking for like cover art for some social media stuff, and you look up Dark Souls Masque of Vindication, and it just gives you screenshots of the game.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's
and
really weird.
And there's not that many reviews on Amazon. And the one review that actually was written said, yeah, it's a fine fantasy book, but has almost nothing to do with Dark Souls.
Yeah, yeah. It's real, and the thing is, we've learned, if there's one thing we've learned through this podcast and reading all these adaptations and talking to these authors, is that, you know, the circumstances, like Kevin said, that surrounds the hows and whys of these books getting written. It's not like a person just sitting down and saying, I have an idea and I need to get it out on paper. It's a totally different situation. It's a business thing. We are not accusing Michael Stackpole of being a bad writer. Far from it. He's actually an incredible writer. And that's why it's kind of weird. You know, this is not a badly written book. It just doesn't feel like Dark Souls. It doesn't make sense as a Dark Souls book.
Yeah. It's weird. So there's only been a few reviews on Amazon. It's
Goodreads here.
You're checking Goodreads. Yeah.
Yeah. There it is. 4 ratings, 1 review, 3.25 stars, 2 stars, too long, didn't read. This is a mostly middling, occasionally decent adventure novel with only superficial connections to the world of Dark Souls. Yeah, a very long review here. But seems like we're not the only people.
Yeah, we're not the only people who kind of who have pegged it as such. But we're gonna finish it. We're gonna finish it and, you know, talk more about it next week. Wrap it up and kind of give our final thoughts on it. But I think you all know where this is headed on the scale.
Yeah.
But I think the most important question to ask right now is, what are you playing?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I got a couple of other games in the past week. I played and finished How Fish is Made.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I'll look.
It's this free game. You can get it on Steam. I think it's on itch.io and some other places, but it's this free. It'll take you about 15 minutes to play, and you basically play like a herring that's flopping around, and you've been dropped into this weird underground, like this industrial area full of pipes and tunnels and stuff, and you're going along your merry way, and you meet all these different fish. And there's a lot of talk about, are you going up or are you going down? And you can answer up or down. And you find out, like, some of them are super into going up and like, oh, you've got to go up. The only smart thing to do is go up. And the other one's like, no, down is the way to go.
Oh my God. I know what this is now. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Who made a video on it?
What's his face? The guy I like
Jacob
so much.
Geller. Jacob Geller made a video on how. Okay, now So basically, you just have to interpret what the other fish are saying is like. Is this the right way to go?
And you meet another fish that has one of those parasitic isopods that like eats out the fish's tongue and replaces itself in the fish's mouth. And it's telling you about, like, I'm all about love and friendship, and me and this fish are friends. And then it does this weird little song and dance number, which takes up about a third of the whole game. And it's really grim and strange. And it's kind of, you know, it's like, if the guy isn't just taking the piss, it's basically this examination on the afterlife and existentialism and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it takes no time to finish. It's really weird. It's free, and I kind of love it. So that was what I did one afternoon, and then I started playing Card Shark.
Oh, yeah. I still need to finish Card Shark, but I feel like that would be right up your alley.
I am enjoying it. I wish the controls were better.
Sure.
I'm having trouble with the controls with different tricks. Now, Kevin, a few books back, talked about this one, and it's basically a game where you play a dude who's assisting someone else in cheating at cards all over, not Middle Ages, early 18th century France.
It's Enlightenment France. Like I think is that one of the guys?
Voltaire is one of exactly.
You talk to
and it's very clever and very interesting, because you're not looking to play cards and win cards. You're looking to learn all these different cheating methods, and they are mini games, and you use different cheating methods in different places, and you're uncovering this mystery, this strange rogue's adventure of this kind of situation, and you're learning all these different tricks. And they say play with a controller. It's meant to be played with a controller, which is my bailiwick anyway. But I find that a lot of the tricks require a level of kind of smoothness to get them right, because you don't have just all day long to search
they're
through
all
the
times.
deck. Your people are getting more suspicious the longer you take, and even on the easiest difficulty, the controls feel kind of sloppy for what they're trying to do. Which is a real shame. I feel because you're right. This is my kind of game. I really like it, despite the controls. But it's this kind of thing that's like keeping it out of like game of the year sort of territory for me. It's just I just wish the controls were a little tighter. That's all.
No, that makes sense.
But I do recommend giving it a look for anyone that sounds interesting.
It's by the same devs who made what's the name of that game? It's you swipe left or right.
Reigns. Yeah.
Reigns.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got a really fun art style, and it's definitely worth a look. I'm enjoying it so far. So Kevin, what are you playing?
Let's see. I played and beat Shadows of Rose, which is that is the Resident Evil Village DLC, the expansion. Shadows of Rose. It's a DLC where you take control of Ethan's daughter, Rose. It's set 16 years after the events of Resident Evil Village, and so it's like 2034 or whatever. They don't really give a year. I think they're I think their Resident Evil is kind of moving on from the who cares what year it is?
It doesn't. Are you paying? It doesn't matter.
Are you paying attention? No, so Rose is a 16-year-old in this, and kind of the plot is she wants to get rid of her powers. She has like some powers that she can not really control, because of the Mune-mycete that's in her body, that was left in her body because she was ripped apart and stitched back together.
Right.
As a baby.
Terrible twos, that kind of thing.
That. So I really liked it. And it did it puts a final button on like Ethan's storyline, and the general like Winters family. I imagine that Rose might be a character in the next Resident Evil game,
but the storyline's probably not going to follow her specifically.
I don't know. Like it's just kind of like we're just moving beyond it kind of separates her as a character now. Like moving forward, we don't have to deal with the baggage of like the previous ones necessarily. She has closure, all that fun stuff. So it's good. It takes about 3 hours to play, which is pretty good chunk. I mean, that's not bad. Village is what, 10 hours, I want to say.
Yeah, at most.
Which is about on par for most Resident Evil titles. So this adds
long for a Resident Evil title.
Yeah, exactly. So this puts it 3 hours. So it's almost like as long as Resident Evil 3.
Right.
Okay. On its own.
Yeah.
So I really liked it, and because of that, I got Resident Evil in the veins now.
Oh yeah.
I reinstalled RE2 remake.
So good.
So good.
So
such
good.
a good game.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
So I reinstalled that, and I'm trying to think if there's anything. Is there anything else I've been playing recently? Let's look up. Oh, I also bought a game, and I really haven't gotten too far into it. It's called Daymare 1998.
Okay.
And it is basically, it started out, from what I understand, as a Resident Evil fan project. And then the devs were kind of hired on. I think they were doing their own like Unity version of Resident Evil 2 before Capcom and said put a stop to it. So then they continued on and they turned it into something fresh and new. And it's called Daymare 1998. And basically you play this character who's part of the Hades unit, like STARS or whatever. You're going in there to basically cover up a zombie biological spill that happened at a research lab. And it's really intense. I actually need to drop the difficulty down because on the harder difficulty or the standard difficulty, and I had literally just been thinking about this the other day, and like, a lot of games don't get into the fact that when you like reload a gun, like, how you're like, oh, I fired a couple shots, let me top off my gun.
Right.
There's no like idea that like, oh, well, there were bullets still in that magazine that you just took out. Shouldn't that affect? Like I've seen one other. This actually, you have magazines in your inventory as separate items, and then you have the box of bullets. And now you can refill the magazines or the clip. I don't know. I'm not a fucking guy. The magazines for the somebody will correct me. For the handgun, you can refill it. So, and the magazines are on the quick select. So if you have like 10 rounds and you fire off 5, now that magazine had 5, and if you reload, now you have a magazine that has 5 bullets in it in your inventory. And you took and you put in a 10, it doesn't automatically like switch, like top it off properly. So it's like, it's the next level of like resource management. That's
okay.
And I was like, I think I have to turn the difficulty down because I don't want to actually have to think about
it. Right.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
So when this episode comes out, we're recording it November 1st. Happy NaNoWriMo, everybody.
Yes.
You should be like 3/4 of the way through your books, or at least halfway through your books by the time this episode comes out. So stop slacking and get your
get on it.
Get your pages in.
Get those words, people. 1667.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to give us a hand, follow us on Twitter at PixelitPod, so far as Twitter still exists by the time this episode comes out. On Instagram at PixelitPod as well. We have a YouTube channel, and we just got our YouTube handle, so it's going to be youtube.com/@Pixelit. We were able to get Pixelit on YouTube, so
hell yeah.
Hey, that's a win right there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Not half bad, damn it.
That's not half bad. And then go over to pixelitpod.com, check out our episodes that we post there, because on there we have the transcripts posted as well. Thank you so much again for listening, and have a good night, everybody.
Bye.